people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for part 10 of my favorite Sapphic books with Sapphic main characters. Before we start, if any of these books or authors are actually problematic, please let me know, because I never intend on promoting problematic people, and I usually do it accidentally. So if any of these books or authors are problematic in any way, please let me know, and then I will never promote that book or that author ever again. So anyway, when you know better, do better. The first book on this list is called Ellen Outside the Lines. This book is a middle-grade contemporary following a young, autistic, non-binary Sapphic main character as they navigate new horizons, changing friendships, and a school trip. This book was so good, and it was absolutely so awesome. For those who don't know, this book was one of my most anticipated 2022 new releases because it was written by the same author of Anna on the Edge, which was one of my favorite books of 2020, and this book absolutely lived up to those expectations, thankfully. This book is so awesome, and it was so well done. First of all, the characters were so well developed and so distinct. The friendships were so wholesome and so well developed. The plot was so intriguing and it was so engaging, and the story is absolutely so readable. The queer representation was so lovely and it was so well done. The autistic representation was also so wonderful, and it really hit home for me as an autistic person myself. So anyway, with all that said, I would highly recommend this book. The next book on this list is called Forward Mulch. This book is a YA contemporary following a young, asexual lesbian as she's navigating her senior year, the fact that her mom's her school dean, her dad's political Republican campaign, and her new crush. This book is so good, and it's absolutely so fantastic, and it's worth all of its hype and so much more. First of all, the plot was so engaging, and it was absolutely so intriguing and so readable. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The Sapphic romance was so lovely, and it was absolutely so wonderful. The family dynamics were so authentic and so, engaging, and it really made the story come to life so much more. This story is so good, and I really enjoyed it because I was so emotionally connected to the characters and to the events, which we love. This book is so awesome, and like I mentioned, it deserves all its hype and so much more because it's so good and it's so well developed in every single element. So with that, I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called The Most Dazzling Girl in Berlin. This book is a YA historical fiction story following a young girl in 1930s Berlin discovering her own voice, sexuality, and love on the cusp of World War II, because like I mentioned, it's set in 1930s Berlin. Anyway, this book is so good, and it's absolutely so wonderful. First of all, the free verse format of this story was so lyrical, and it really made the story so vivid and so engaging. Second of all, the world building and the setting was so vivid and so well developed and absolutely so awesome. I don't think I've ever read a book before that's set in this time period in this specific country, and it really made the story so much more educational for me, and we love to see it. Third of all, I forgot what number I'm on. The plot was so engaging and it was absolutely so intriguing. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The Sapphic romance was so lovely and it was absolutely so wonderful. This book, again, deserves all its hype and so much more because it's so awesome and it's so lyrical and it's so timely and it's so important. So anyway, with all that said, I would highly recommend this book. The next book on this list is called My Dearest Strongest. This book is a YA paranormal urban fantasy contemporary that follows a pair of Sapphic girls, one of them is bisexual and the other one is a lesbian, who must work together against a creature that they've accidentally summoned within their school. I don't know if that makes any sense, but basically, this book was so good, and it was absolutely so well done. First of all, the world building was so good, and it was so vivid. This book reminds me of, The Devouring Grey and A Lesson in Vengeance. You know what I mean? It was so good. The Sapphic romance was so well developed and absolutely so lovely, and both characters themselves were so well developed and so distinct. The plot was so engaging and so intriguing. I had really low expectations for this book because I typically don't love urban fantasies, but nowadays, more and more, urban fantasy is becoming more of a hit or miss and less my least favorite subgenre of fantasy that I'm actively avoiding. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but basically this book was so awesome and it was so well done because it was so readable and it was so engaging, and with that I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called She Gets the Girl. This book is a YA contemporary following a pair of college freshmen who are also both lesbians, and they're both working together to get other people to fall for them, only to discover that they're actually falling for each other instead. This book is so good, and it's absolutely so well done in every single element, and like I've mentioned multiple times throughout this video, this book deserves all of its hype and so much more, because it's absolutely so good. First of all, the plot was so intriguing and it was so engaging. Second of all, the characters were so well developed and so distinct. The Sapphic romance was so cute and it was so fluffy and it was so lovely and so wonderful and it was so well developed from the very beginning to the end. You know what I mean? I love that this book incorporated not exactly fake dating, but practice dating. I don't know if that makes any sense, but basically, this book was so good, and it was so fluffy, and it was so happy, and it was like a Sapphic rom-com, so we love to see it. Anyway, with all that said, I would highly recommend this book. The next book on this list is called Nothing Burns as Bright as You. This book is a YA contemporary following a young black Sapphic girl as she's navigating grief, queer love, and the complexities of female friendships. This book is so good, and also I apologize in advance if my book review is redundant because I know I talked about this book fairly recently. But anyway, this book is so good and it's so well done and it's absolutely so underrated, so maybe I shouldn't apologize for being redundant because this book deserves so much more hype. Anyway, the writing is so lyrical and it's absolutely so pretty. The free-verse format of the story really made the story and the characters come to life so much more. Speaking of, the characters were so well developed and so distinct and absolutely so authentic. The Sapphic relationship was so authentic and it was so lovely, and I absolutely fell in love with this story and with the events and with the characters and with basically everything. The plot was so engaging and it was absolutely so intriguing. Like I've mentioned multiple times, this book is so underrated and it deserves so much more hype. So with that, I would highly recommend it. The penultimate book on this list is called From Dust to Flame. This book is a YA fantasy contemporary following a young Sapphic girl who must unearth her family's secrets in order to break a curse and save everybody she loves, including herself. This book is so good, and again, I apologize in advance if my review is redundant, but this book is so underrated, so maybe, again, I shouldn't apologize for being repetitive. But anyway, this book is so amazing, and it's so good, and it's absolutely so engaging. First of all, the world building was so immersive, and it was absolutely so intriguing. The Jewish culture in this book really seeped through the pages and made the story so much more vivid than it already was. The plot was so intriguing and it was so engaging. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The platonic and romantic relationships were so well developed and so lovely. The Sapphic romance was so cute and it was so fluffy, and I really enjoyed it. Anyway, the point is, I really enjoyed every single element of the story because each element was so well developed and incorporated so well. I will gladly read more books from this author in the future, or maybe I should go through her backlisted list. Anyway, the point is, I would highly recommend this book because it deserves so much more hype. The last book on this list, and certainly not the least, because it's my latest 5-star favorite, is Arden Grey. This book is a YA contemporary following a young Sapphic asexual girl who's navigating her new sexuality, her new romance, her parents' most recent divorce, and the idea that her relationship with her mom might have been abusive, so there's a trigger warning on this book for abusive relationships. This book was so awesome, and it was so well done. Like I said, I rated it 5 stars because I loved every single thing about it, and it made me cry at least twice. First of all, the queer representation was so lovely, and it was absolutely so wonderful. Second of all, the plot was so intriguing, and it was so engaging. This book definitely lived up to my high expectations, because I had high expectations for this book since I had read Between Perfect and Real last year, which was also one of my 5-star favorites of last year. But anyway, third of all, the family relationships were so lovely and absolutely so wonderful and so well done. Like, the friendships were so good, and I really enjoyed them. The Sapphic romance was so lovely, and it was absolutely so terrific. This book deserves all of its hype and so much more. So with that, I would highly recommend it. So, in conclusion, I hope that this video helps diversify your bookshelf. In case you want some more recommendations, I've left in the description box below the playlist that I've made for all of my Sapphic book video recommendations, which, considering that this video is a part 10, I have promoted over 75 Sapphic books on my channel so far, which is almost to 100 if you really think about it. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the snowman emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video.